it's about not the who's in the room, but the why and the what we are sharing. Normally I say that in this work of gun violence, it's not about superstars. I could put, Dr. Chico name on it, A.T. Mitchell, I could put Pastor Hines' name on a flyer. Most people are not really in tune to the person. People are not drawn to gun violence summits because of who they are, especially in the Virgin Islands. It's about the information. And so I believe that I have seen really how gun violence have devastated, family and friends. I was born and raised in the Virgin Islands, and I had an opportunity to be raised in two projects on both islands. I was born in St. Croix, grew up on RSDS Height in the projects, moved to St. Thomas, and moved to Tutu. So in Tonki, I was raised in the projects in Tutu. Going through the angle of Joseph Gomez Elementary School, going to BCB, and then going to Ken, Medora Ken, we find that a lot of those friends that I had who lost their life to gun violence. As a matter of fact, there's a story that I always say to my mom many years later. I grew up in, well, we live in East Bovoni right now, Este Bovoni, and I literally had a gun. Some friends had a gun, and this is here in the Virgin Islands. What is a Tech 9 doing in the hands of a boy whose father and mother in a Christian home? And so, just by the grace of God, I want to tell you all, I pulled the trigger, and I did not realize that in the chamber of the gun, when you, as a rookie, when you pull it back, there's one in the chamber. Some of you know about that? None of you know about that? Anybody? Yeah? You know about that. And one was stuck in there, and my friend was on the bed in the same house that I grew up in, and I was like, if anybody touch you, that man mess with me, this is what we're gonna do. We're just talking junk, garbage. And pointed the gun, and I just happened to turn the gun away. And the gun discharged. The house is full of people. It hit the floor, went through my bedroom door, went through the closet door, and it ended up, of course, we built a house with concrete and not with, that stuff we build in the States, the sheetrock. It's all concrete. And everyone was in the house. And that was my first experience collectively in a dangerous setting with guns. And so I have seen the devastation of gun violence, not only in the territory, but listen, across the globe. And I think that today what we're going to do and what we're going to share is that gun violence is a serious issue, and we're going to deal with it in a serious way. And over these next couple of days or hours spent, I think it's going to be the best 8 hours that we're going to be spending together over the next 2 days. The programs are going to be delivered shortly from the printer. In that program, you have the opportunity to list out some of the things that you hear, so take notes now. And then we want to share together. We're not telling you what we want you to do. We're saying to you, here's what is working, here's some best practices, and how best that we can share with you the resources that is in this room. And I think that is going to be beneficial to all of us. Once we started off doing this work, you never despise small beginnings. 12 years ago when I came back home and we started to work on gun violence, it's also a situation where we want everyone to be involved and engaged, right? And so all of you here today is going to make the difference. So it's a holiday, 4th of July weekend. You can't be on the beach really because the weather's not that great. But we would love for it to be great for all of you to enjoy. And so we want to make sure that we are really capturing today everything that we need, and I'm sure that we'll have a really opportune and amazing time. We'll introduce, everyone in the team as we go along today, but I want to just open up to Rabbi Julia to come forward, and she's going to share some reflective thoughts with us. Let's welcome Rabbi Julia to the stage.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much, Pastor, for inviting me to have opening remarks. And I have to tell you, I presume that you recognize by the accent that I'm not from here. And I lived in South Africa. I'm from Johannesburg, which I'm sure, despite all the beautiful things that one can say about South Africa, it is one of the most dangerous cities in the world. And unfortunately, gun violence is part of life in South Africa. And as a rabbi, something that's very close to my heart, something that always been on my mind, and always thought how we can make our children, our communities, to be a safer place. Therefore, I really appreciate that you asked me to say a few words. In Judaism, if you say a prayer over something, but you fail to do the requisite action that will make a prayer a reality, for example, like a blessing of a bread and not eating it, it's called bracha levatala, blessing in vain, which is a sinful act. If you pray for victims of gun violence but do nothing to elevate it, it is a sinful act. And at this moment in time, when we are all here in this house of study, house of prayer, in moments and in time, we recite the prayers for peace, we recite prayers for healing, we recite prayers for our country. We obligate ourselves towards the action. And I moved to Virgin Islands only a year ago, and I have limited knowledge of how to move the conversations of gun safety and crime prevention forward in this particular area of the Caribbean. But I trust you as leaders of this community. You are those that actively participate in your religious institutions. You all board members on different organizations, and people that work in universities and schools, in every sphere, in government institutions. You can speak and you can talk with those who need to hear about the solutions for fears that we face. And together, inspired by the words of Torah, we can brainstorm what actions we should take to prevent gun violence in our communities. And this prayer that I'm going to recite is intended to help us to find the courage to take action, even if it means starting with the smallest steps. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu, our God and God of our fathers and mothers, guardian of life, liberty, and the promise of peace. May our nation always merit your protection. We recognize the gun freedoms in our nation have resulted in too many losing the freedom to full lives. We know that peace anywhere might be shattered in a moment, but we know too that many in this nation rarely experience the safety some of us take for granted. Our God, help us to recall, as the prophet Jeremiah taught, that we must seek the peace of the city, recognizing how our own peace is tied up in that of the city where we find ourselves. The words of Isaiah remind us to share our bread, clothe the naked, unlock the ladders of the wickedness in this community and in our nation. In this prayer, we focus on one common affliction of the soul among us, are those whom gun